Why are you doing that?
You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible. Who you do business with is more important than where they're located. Bank from the comfort of your own home with Emprise Bank. Coming up, the latest episode of the KC Laboratory Podcast with Ken Swanson, Craig Stout, and Matt Lane. Coming to you on the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. You can find all of our channels covering all the local teams wherever you listen to podcasts or on YouTube. Just search KCSN. And now, the latest episode of the KC Laboratory.
It's a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC. Matthew Lane, your space is getting increasingly festive here. I am loving all the Christmas stuff in the background.
There's a lot there. I'm glad you guys are liking it. I'm glad everyone's enjoying it. I've been adding one new decoration every single show, and it took Jordan, the producer, 7 days to notice. Craig was also 7. You're on 8.
Bearcat, I've noticed. I just have not called it out.
Lies. Good friend of the pod, Bearcat, was also 7. So you were last of the party, bud. But thanks for paying attention. Pay attention to the details. Craig, how you doing, bud?
Oh my goodness! I feel like we just dunk on Kent all the time. I'm starting to feel bad for you, Kent, a little bit. Just,
I'm fine.
Not enough to do anything about it, but just a little bit bad about it. Just a little bit, buddy. How you doing, Kent?
I've been better.
You're very handsome though, so you got that going for you.
Sure. Yeah, let's just thanks. Appreciate it.
I had to say something.
Yeah, I know. You really did. I was a lot better 2 minutes ago before the show started. This is the game preview edition. We are previewing Chiefs Texans. Thank you everybody that's watching or listening. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave comments. Maybe someone defend my honor. I don't know.
Give Kent a 5-star review, please.
Don't do that.
Give him a 5-star review.
Don't do that. But do leave a 5-star review telling Craig how great he is. Anyway, so what we do in this show, you guys know, three storylines on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. Start with the offense against the Texans. I think you got to start with this. Patrick Mahomes coming off a really bad performance or a bad stretch of football wrapped around a good performance or sandwiched between a good performance. I don't know how to classify it. What I do know is I want to see him have a clean sheet this week, Matthew.
I mean, that would be preferred, right? After 3 interceptions. Even more than that, I'm going to expand it a little bit because I don't think we're touching on this later. Just don't turn the ball over. Like, hey, let's do like the offense don't turn the ball over challenge and kind of see how that goes. See how that goes for this week against the Houston Texans. That would be dandy. At the same time, though, like, I mean, I don't want to stress this too much. I am not getting overly worried right now about the Chiefs' turnovers on the offensive side of the ball. I think some have been, I don't want to say fluky, but relatively unlucky, having Travis Kelce break a tackle and then have the ball pulled out as he's trying to fall to the ground. Like, can it happen again? Yes. But is it likely to? Probably not. Do I expect Patrick Mahomes to throw 3 interceptions in a game again? Absolutely not, especially those kinds where he was very clearly, following certain processes that led him there. It's like, I get it. The turnovers are becoming a bit much. I don't know if I'm panicking about it yet, but if you come out and have another multi-turnover game here against the Texans, especially if it is from Mahomes trying to maybe fit the ball into some windows that he shouldn't have, okay, then maybe we can have a conversation next week because this defense isn't the Broncos, right? The Broncos force you into some turnovers. You kind of give a nod and say, man, that sucks, but okay, we'll figure it out. The Texans start forcing you into a lot of turnovers.
It's a storyline.
It is a storyline. Yeah. And they turned the Dallas Cowboys over 3 times last week. 2 from former Chiefs Tremont Smith. I think everybody remembers him out here. So, I mean, I do think, this is a great kind of game to get that flow started again. Get the ball protection good again, because we're seeing it get not necessarily loose or anything like that, but Mahomes is trying to fit some stuff in there that maybe he shouldn't test. Some of these other guys, not necessarily Kelsey, as he's trying to pick up some other yards, playing a little loose with the ball. Punt returns, obviously, they made a change there because of ball security and turnovers. So they know it's an issue. They know they need to address it. Now is the time here. The Texans, 3 turnovers last week, 2 the week before, 1 the week before that. But then after that, it's very sporadic. Like they are not a team that's turning the ball over heavily, multiple games in a row here and there where they're not even forcing a turnover at all. Just take care of the ball and don't allow a bad team to stay in a game because you're not taking care of it. Again, this is not groundbreaking analysis by any means here by saying, hey, don't turn the ball over against a bad team. But seriously, it's becoming common enough for this Kansas City Chiefs offense and for this special teams group that it needs to be said. It does, because it's just happening too frequently. We saw last week a bad team was able to hang around and get back into the game. Don't allow it to happen again and take advantage of a beat up and bad Texans defense, and don't turn the ball over.
It's the only hope the Houston Texans have is if they can turn the Chiefs over. If the Chiefs don't turn the ball over, they are covering comfortably. The Chiefs have to turn the ball over and the Texans have to turn the Chiefs over for the Texans to win this football game. So it's like storyline number 1 for me, and it's line number 1 for this game, I think. The other thing is execution in the red zone. And that's, something that's been a little bit up and down here. Matthew, maybe some guys coming back that could potentially help that, but red zone offense, finishing in the red zone, pretty important.
Yeah, so the Chiefs on the year are still 5th in the NFL in terms of their touchdown percentage in the red zone at 66%. But here's the kicker. Over the past 3 games, that's 46%. That is a 20% drop. Like, it has been significantly worse. Now, some of your opponents are going to play a role there, playing the Broncos, playing the Bengals, 2 teams that are relatively good at locking it down in the red zone. That is going to play a part. And it is specifically inside the 20. It's a limited sample size. Still, that's a big gap, though. That's a big number. Over those 3 weeks, if that was what the Chiefs were on the season, they'd be the third worst team in the NFL. They'd be hanging out right there with Denver. That's how poorly they've been executing in terms of turning red zone trips into touchdowns right now. And while I'm sure the opponents play a part, you nailed it. Without McCole Hardman, without Kadarius Toney, it seems like the red zone offense is a little bit different. They don't have that horizontal stretch from the jet motion. They don't really have the speed on this roster to stretch defenses horizontally. And now all of a sudden you get into the red zone, guess what you run out of space to do? You can't stretch them vertically now. There's no more vertical space. So here you have the Chiefs, who aren't really a great running team, especially in the red zone. Like, that's not their bread and butter. So they can't pound the rock. You can't pull second level defenders forward. You can't pull safeties forward and throw the ball behind them because you can't create that space and you're working in a condensed area. Now, all of a sudden, you can't stretch them horizontally either because you don't have your 2 pre-snap motion guys. You don't have your 2 speedsters. And while they do use Sky Moore in this role a little bit, they're very hesitant to give him the ball. They're very hesitant to throw him the ball off these jet motions. And quite frankly, teams know that. They don't give him the same respect that they were giving McCole Hardman or Kadarius Toney. And I mean, we even saw Toney got left wide open for a touchdown when he was in that role. So McCole Hardman has respect in this spot. I think getting either one of them back would be huge for this. And they don't need him for this game, but I think it will be big for their red zone offense. Final thing, Texans red zone defense, good. 7th in the NFL. So one thing their defense is good at is kind of locking things down in the red zone. So this would be a good game to get one of those fast wide receivers back to see if that helps, to see if that kind of shakes them out of this rut they've been in terms of converting touchdowns here.
Yeah, the Texans and the Chiefs have seen the exact same number of red zone trips on defense, 44, and the Texans have allowed 7 fewer touchdowns. Lovie Smith's defense tightens up a little bit down there. So good for them. That is one of the few areas, like Maddie said, where they're better. Mecole Hardman is practicing this week. You don't see him on the injury report. For those of you who are unaware of the rule, he is not on the active 53 yet, so they don't have to make any injury designations or any assumptions or anything like that. It is truly a wait and see mode with Hardman to see if he's going to be active this week. But Kadarius Toney is practicing, and I get that the Chiefs may not want to rush either one of those guys back, especially, if it's some sort of soft tissue injury or something. You don't want to stress that by having a guy come back too early. And frankly, this is not a team that you need to be super geared up to go in there and beat. But I'm with Maddie there. It's a completely different red zone offense without those two guys in there. Andy Reid, for all of his bag of tricks and things that he likes to do along the red zone there and try and get guys open, scheme guys open, it just lacks without a guy that can beat another guy to the pylon. And there are so few guys that are on this roster right now. It really is basically Mecole Hardman and Kadarius Toney, and then maybe a little bit Patrick Mahomes if somebody's chasing him that's also really fast. But it's just those two guys in the structure of the offense that are getting to the pylon, and they sorely miss them right now. So I would welcome them back to this offense just for that thing alone. Like, you can put Kadarius Toney on ice for the entire game and then just bring him out in the red zone and have him run some of that jet motion stuff, get him the ball a couple of times just to make sure that the red zone offense still functions, and then turn it back off again.
And so, I think this is an interesting thought where we're sitting here in the fourth year of Mecole Hardman's NFL career, contract year, and maybe he's reached some people's expectations, maybe he hasn't reached others, right? But we're sitting here saying the Chiefs are missing him because of his ability in the red zone. Like, they are missing him for his ability to play a wide receiver-ish in the red zone. Like, that is what they're missing from. They're not missing his speed necessarily running vertically downfield, although I'm sure they would love to have it back. They're not missing his ability to be this dynamic wide receiver or just a wide receiver. They're missing his ability to stretch teams horizontally, but they are actively missing it. It's taken almost 4 years to feel like there is a significant impact coming from him. And I don't mean this in a negative way. It's very positive for him. We've waited 4 years to see this visible, this tangible impact that Mecole Hardman's having. And it's this year. Without him and without having a guy that can be behind him and Kadarius Toney with the injury stuff happening, it's an interesting spot to be in, that they are missing Mecole Hardman because they don't have the one thing that he's done all 4 years available to him. And they haven't figured out how to change. I don't even think they've tried. They haven't really tried to do anything else, but it's just interesting. I just find that his career arc right now is very interesting to me, that's where he's the most valuable for the Chiefs, is in the red zone.
Yeah.
And one final thing before you get in here, Kent, just really quick. Producer Jordan jumps in, saves the day here, says Toney has been limited all week long so far, and that Andy Reid stated Mecole Hardman has been working on getting his weight and strength back up while returning to practice. I think from that standpoint with Mecole Hardman, that might be a little bit more of an indicator that, hey, that guy's not playing quite this week.
We're gonna have to keep an eye on that one because he does. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll see what happens with that one. We will see what happens with the rest of this offensive storylines after Tucker tells us about trade coffee.
The holidays are approaching, so it's time to start thinking about what you're going to gift your loved ones. And if you're looking for something to get even the hardest people to shop for, look no further with a personalized coffee subscription from Trade Coffee. Yes, our friends at Trade Coffee are back, and Trade Coffee is a coffee subscription service that makes it so simple to discover new coffees and make your best cup of coffee at home every day. Trade partners with the nation's top-rated independent roasters to send you coffee that they'll know you love, fresh to your home and on your preferred schedule. Trade makes it easy and convenient to discover new coffees. They've been wonderful sending me new coffees that I can try, mix and pair with flavorings, with different creams and stuff like that. Wonderful. Right now, Trade is offering our listeners a total of $30 off a subscription at drinktrade.com/KCSN. That's drinktrade.com/KCSN for $30 off. drinktrade.com/KCSN.
Hey, do us a favor if you're listening to this show, if you're watching this show, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps us grow the channel, helps more people find KC Sports Network 18 Chiefs shows every single week. Again, leave a 5-star review too. That always helps this channel as well. It helps us grow, helps people find it on Apple. So genuinely appreciate everybody listening right now, everybody watching right now. You all rule. Okay, so I would say Texans probably going to play a little bit of zone this week, Maddie, or a lot of zone this week, Matthew. That could be something to keep an eye on this week.
Hey, Lovey Smith does Lovey Smith things, right? So it's a zone team. It's a zone heavy defense. That was a big talking point when they drafted Derek Stingley early, and actually he played really good for them, even in zone before he got injured. But so yeah, the Texans are going to play a lot of zone. The Chiefs are really good versus zone coverage. The Chiefs' best and two most reliable receiving options, really good against zone coverage, and Juju Smith-Schuster and Travis Kelce. Patrick Mahomes has become essentially the best quarterback in the NFL against zone coverage. So what I'm trying to say is be ready for the Chiefs to really struggle on offense because they really like to do goofy things. Now, this is one of those things I don't know whether it's good or bad if you take a lot from this particular game. I feel like this performance could go a lot offensively like it did against the Arizona Cardinals, where maybe there's nothing eye-popping, there's nothing that wows you from what happens, but it just looks easy and it looks concise and it looks pristine because they are facing a team that is kind of going to play directly into what they want to do. The only thing the Texans could do worse is play cover 3 instead of, a lot of too high stuff that they're going to base out of too high. Like they will. Don't get me wrong. They're going to play a lot of quarter half stuff, a lot of thing cover 4, but it's going to be zone. And I expect the Chiefs to pick it apart up and down the field. And I don't expect anything too crazy or exotic from Andy Reid. They're just going to go run their offense and play pitch and catch into voided spaces like they do every time they play a team like this.
I do think it is worth noting here, and we were talking just very briefly before the podcast started here, the one guy that the Texans have on defense that can affect the game outside of Jerry Hughes, who once again had another very good year, is Jalen Petrie out of Baylor. Rookie safety that has been flying around the field over the past 3 weeks. I mean, he's been pretty good all season long, but this high second-round pick has had 25 solo tackles over the past 3 weeks, 4 PBUs, and an interception. And when you watch him, he is aggressively filling the alley when he's coming downhill. He is aggressively attacking the middle of the field and just laying huge hits. We talk all the time about, hey, zone team, Juju, Travis Kelce, they're going to eat, and they're going to eat in the middle of the field. They're going to find these seams. They're going to do all of this. I still expect that to happen, but I expect a lot of car crashes on the field. Jalen Petrie's going to be flying around a little bit. So I'm looking at the Travis Kelce matchup a little bit. He's going to get a ton of targets because as I'm going to get to here in a little bit, he's just going to get a ton of targets. And then Juju Smith-Schuster is a guy that is fearless. He's not going to pull out of any challenge, and neither is Petrie. So those two guys, I fully expect we're going to see a few of these just giant hits between those two guys in the middle of the field. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to hold on. I just think it's going to be one of those games that we look back on and it's like, hey, boy, that was a really physical game from two of the Chiefs' best wide receivers. And then you're also going to be looking at a guy that's a potential superstar safety in the making for the Texans in Jalen Petrie.
He's not going to have much help back there this week either. It looks like Derek Stingley and Steven Nelson, both DNPs, did not participate first 2 days of practice. So it's going to be interesting if, we talk about zone heavy. It might even be more zone heavy with the lack of capable bodies that they can really rotate in the back end of their defense. So it's really a shame that the Chiefs aren't going to get to play Steven Nelson, though. I would have really, I would have. You
just want to talk smack on him.
I would have enjoyed it. It would have been a little bit of fun, but that's okay. Players to watch on the offensive side of the ball. Craig, what say you?
I'm starting with a guy that I'd never pick. I usually try and pick guys that are a little, not of the upper tier. It's Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, by maybe his own standards, not having his best last couple of games. And that, despite saying that, he went for 4 for 71 against the Broncos. Just a terrific performance, but maybe not his best last couple of games. Looking at some of the stuff that Jalen Petrie had done and what the Houston Texans had, kind of defended against tight ends, they've really played only two really good tight ends this year in Dallas Goedert and Dalton Schultz, against the Philadelphia Eagles and against the Cowboys. Both of those players led their offenses in targets, receptions, and yards when they played against the Houston Texans. Dallas Goedert went for 100 yards and a touchdown on 8 receptions, and Dalton Schultz went for 87 yards on 6 catches. Neither one of those two tight ends is in the same stratosphere as Travis Kelce. I expect a monster Kelce game. I don't care what it is. Bet the over. Travis Kelce is eating this week and continuing a stellar 2022 campaign.
Wow, not even going to include they shut down Mike Gesicki.
I mentioned the two best tight ends.
I'm going to go with Marquez Valdes-Scantling in this one. He's the receiver that has not been mentioned yet, but there's a very specific reason. I think we talking about all the zone. We're talking about Travis Kelce and the attention he's going to get. We're talking about Juju Smith-Schuster being reliable and the guy that gets those. There's going to get those second level of the kind of zone plays. He's going to get the next most targets over that area, especially the middle of the field. MVS is the vertical threat. He's been essentially their only vertical threat, sans the one shot they take to Justin Watson every game that has connected twice. So, I mean, hey, it's there, but MVS is their vertical receiver right now. And the Texans do a pretty good job of not letting guys constantly get behind them, but they still find a knack for giving up relatively big amount or a lot of explosive plays. That's how they still are not good in terms of not allowing points and yet have a good red zone defense, right? They'll give up points. They'll give up explosives. I think the MVS vertical ball is becoming a little bit more apparent here as the year goes on. It's come into play a few more times down the stretch. The Bengals game was like the last time they really were working on it. Didn't get to see it against the Broncos until that final drive, but they're pushing the ball downfield with him a little bit. I just wonder if they keep that going, find a way to scheme him into a deep shot here or there against a team that's predominantly going to be playing zone, predominantly going to be having 4 defensive backs playing, top down because it will be so much cover 4, match quarters kind of stuff. I just wonder if they can get him deep on a couple because he's the guy they like to push the ball down the field with.
I intentionally laid off red zone offense when we were discussing it. We know there's some stuff with McCole Hardman, right? Maybe they can get him involved a little bit laterally. It looks like the Chiefs had some contingencies in place in his absence, and we almost saw one of them a couple weeks ago. That's why my player to watch this week on offense is Colin Saunders.
Yes.
I love being on this end of it. Look at Maddie and look at me right now. Maddie answered him. He's Kenting right now. This is wonderful. Look. The Chiefs should...
your answer. I just hate that they get to do it. I hate that it makes so much sense to do it in this game.
I know. I love it. So, look, the Chiefs could be in a very comfortable situation in this football game. And if that's the case, it's yet another perfect opportunity to try to throw some looks out there, steal some time, force some preparation. And also at the same time, guess what? See what you got in Colin Saunders, a very nimble, athletic player. On the defensive side of the football, they lined him up in line before a timeout was called and the opportunity was ruined. Who knows? He might have been motioned back into the backfield. We don't know. We're going to find out against the Houston Texans because they're going to be winning comfortably in this game. Colin Saunders is my player to watch on the offensive side of the ball.
Does he catch a pass? Does he run a ball in? Or is this a pop pass? Is this a hungry or an air whatever it was called? Bloated
Hungry
Tebow
pig,
pass.
right?
A bloated Tebow pass.
Oh, bloated Tebow. I think he is a lead blocker this week.
Yeah, and you're going to be extremely let down. They're going to put him out there. They're going to make you think it's something cool.
The ball.
And they are going to have him lead block. They're going to gain 2 yards, not score a touchdown, and we're going to have wasted the down. Cool.
Listen, Corey in the chat says he's going to catch a pass. Corey, I believe you. I believe it's going to be him catching a pass.
You know what I really want? I want them to fake halfback dive and just hit him a pitch. Just hit him a pitch.
Oh.
That's
I don't
what
care
I
how
want.
you get the ball in that man's hands. Get it in his hands.
That's the only way I accept it if
it's
it's a pitch. It's the only way I accept it if it's some kind of misdirection pitch. Anything else is a waste of a down.
Moving on to the defense. I've already derailed this place way too much.
I only want to talk about that for the rest of the podcast.
I kind of do too. You're welcome. And I love the fact that Maddie answered harder than Maddie ever has. It's so good. I
It's
feel
not even
so
a Maddie
good.
answer.
Yes, it is. That
No,
is a Maddie
It would have been
answer.
a Maddie answer if you said a defensive player and just included them all. You didn't include enough options.
Maddie, the Houston Texans are going to play 2 quarterbacks. Why? And what does that do for preparation?
At the same time, because like if they do them at the same time, like I'm in. Like I'm fully
like the
invested in
Kansas
this game.
Jayhawks. Like the Kansas
they-
Jayhawks do.
Who? They have a team? Okay. So yeah, if they put 2 out there at the same time on the field, I'm fully interested. Like I will not be locked into any game more than this game for the next month. If they're both out there at the same time. However, if they're just, like cycling them through or whatever, are you preparing for the Houston Texans quarterbacks anyway? Like it's going to be the same offense regardless, right? Based on the skill set that we're looking at here, based on, what everything is going to be, it's going to be the same thing. Like what are we looking at? Jeff Driscoll, and is it Kyle Allen or is Davis Mills back?
It's Davis Mills.
It's Davis
Okay,
Mills. Driscoll, people think he's a great athlete. And
He's a good athlete.
They utilize Jeff Driscoll with his legs a little bit, and that's the little wrinkle that they try to introduce periodically here. So
Pep Hamilton is not going to come out and hit you with a read option offense enough to where I think it matters if you're preparing for Davis Mills or Jeff Driscoll. Like that's what it is. Like yes, he's more athletic. Yes, if he has to scramble or if they want to randomly have him maybe keep the ball once or twice or something, that's fine. You're not going to come out and have them run the Baltimore Ravens offense with Lamar Jackson. Like, you're not dealing with that kind of discrepancy. You're still dealing with 2 guys that can technically make all of the throws on the football field. They're just not very good at doing so. So like, I don't think it matters which one is back there. It's not going to change their plan of attack in terms of run pass balance, what they're necessarily trying to do. And if I'm wrong, if I'm the Chiefs, I don't prepare for that. And if they come out in the first half and they hit me with a bunch of read options with Jeff Driscoll and his wheels are killing me, I adjust that at halftime. But like, I don't care about that leading up to the game. I let them come prove that he can outrun everybody on my defense and that they're willing to do it enough.
I mean, yeah, especially since they don't exactly have their full stable of running backs back there. Dameon Pierce missing. It's like, man, try to line up. Yeah, Corey in the chat right here. Try to line up with Jeff Driscoll and Rex Burkhead.
Let's go.
Can Peyton Hillis come in and they'll just run a triple option?
And here's the thing: they could call up Royce Freeman from the practice squad, and there's a bunch of Chiefs fans that are looking at that lineup and going, "Man, at one time, those guys beat the hell out of us, like a long time ago. But at one time, they beat the hell out of us." I mean, again, any given Sunday, part of the best way for this Texans offense to try and rekindle and get a spark going on offense is to try and institute like a Taysom Molehill, sort of offensive integration here, where you've got a guy that can throw it a little bit, that can be a little bit of a bruiser, can run the ball a little bit. That's kind of what they're looking for by playing Jeff Driscoll in here. But I don't know that it's one of those things that, as one of those guys comes in, that Nick Bolton is standing there going, I mean, obviously he's alert, that guy's in, but he's not standing there going, okay, guys, now let's break out this package of defensive plays. I think they're largely going to play them the same. I think they're going to line up and try and play them the same. I think that's part of it. And I mean, it is rare that you see these 2 quarterback offenses just kind of come in and run teams ragged. We've seen times over the past several years where maybe the New Orleans Saints offense has given some teams fits here and there, but it's never to the tune of like a 40 or 50 point game or even a 30 point game. The reason you play 2 quarterbacks is because you have none. And so that's really what it boils down to. The Chiefs, with their defensive personnel, regardless of what you think of them, regardless of what you think of Steve Spagnuolo, still have the better personnel on the field when it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. They still have the better personnel on the field. So line up and beat them at their own game. There's only so much they can do with either one of those guys. Just don't let the fact that 2 quarterbacks out there is going to cause you a little extra work, a little extra stress, or extra calls on the field, because you can beat them regardless of which one is taking the snap.
I've been letting you cook this whole time, but did you say Taysom Molehill?
Yes, I did.
100% dead.
But I don't understand that reference.
He's Taysom Hill. Hill's a little
know.
bit too big. A molehill is much smaller.
Okay. All right.
Mound. Taysom Mound.
Taysom Mound. Taysom Anthill. Taysom
Mount Taysom.
Taysom Western Kansas. I mean, I don't know what you want to call it.
What? Let's talk about turning the Texans over. Look, we talked about the flip side of this. Hey, like, the only thing that can keep the Texans in this game probably is if they turn the Chiefs over. Well, I want to see the Chiefs get their hands on the football a little bit. Craig said it. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. They don't have their best running back. Go turn this team over. Make some plays on the football. Get some confidence and play with some confidence this week, Matthew.
Dude, what is that? Right? Like what is that for the Chiefs? Like that's not how this team is built or playing, at least right now, right? That's not what they do. They too often, I think, even just when you watch the defensive backs, right? Your safeties aren't driving on stuff. I don't even want to say they're not driving aggressively, but they don't seem to be playing with that instinctive mindset where they just kind of know what's going to happen. So they're getting there early. They're reacting, and Thornhill at times, Justin Reed, these guys will fly downhill. They will fly to the ball, but they're not seeing it early enough, or they just don't innately know that it's happening. So they're still going to be late all the time. So yeah, maybe they can break a pass up. Maybe they can come up and make a big hit or a stop, but they're not ever in a position to really jump the route. Then you look outside at the cornerbacks, young guys. Trent McDuffie's playing well. Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson, they're playing okay, but you're still a little concerned about the ball skills for the 2 later round rookies in Watson and Williams. Like, their tracking ability over the shoulder, their ability to play the ball downfield isn't superb. And Trent McDuffie, well, I don't think I've had any issues with him playing the ball. He's still small. Like, he still has to find a way to go up out of his way and beat a guy that's going to be bigger than him for the football. So whether or not he's playing it well or not, there is still a limitation there. And then it also doesn't help when the ball hits him in the face and he doesn't catch it. Like, they don't have the guys producing turnovers. They just don't. They don't have the guys that play that way on the back end of their defense. Their linebackers, Nick Bolton, even on his best day, is not a dynamic coverage player at linebacker. Even in his best game, when he's playing exceptionally well, that's just not his game. He's not going to be manning up on a tight end. He's not going to be driving on passes over the middle of the field and making plays on the ball. Good ball skills when it's near him, actually. That's something he does really well. It's just he struggles to get to the ball at times because that's not his game. And then Willie Gay spends half his time, not really, it's like 1 or 2 series off the field. And we have seen he is the one linebacker, the one guy on this team that seems to consistently make a play on the ball. So I don't know. The Texans will give you an opportunity, but why are we still expecting it? I guess is my Craig. Tell me why I should expect a turnover.
Because that's how Spags' defenses have typically worked. I mean, because we want them to work that way. I mean, that's really what it's boiled down to at this point. This defense has not turned the ball over regularly. That's not what they've done. And it's hurt them, because that's what we've typically come to realize for Spagnuolo's defenses. They allow some extra yardage. They don't do great in the red zone. Currently, they're last in the red zone, but they don't do great in the red zone. But they turn the ball over frequently enough to where you give your offense a chance to build a bigger lead. You get into a pass-heavy script, then maybe you get another turnover, then maybe all of a sudden it starts to avalanche and your defense starts to look a little bit better. That's just not happening this year. So you're hoping that maybe against a team that doesn't have their top flight weapons. Brandon Cooks right now had a DNP and a limited practice to this point. Nico Collins has not practiced at all this week. The rest of the wide receivers that are on the active roster right now for the Houston Texans, Chris Moore, Amari Rodgers, and Philip Dorsett. That group of players shouldn't even come close to challenging you as a defense, challenging you at the point of attack, or really running by you in a scary way. Those are guys that this DB group should be able to glove up, and that could allow the safeties to maybe gamble a little bit, try and take some chances, try and create a turnover when the offense or when the Texans offense has the ball and they're trying to run the ball, and it's Rex Burkhead or Royce Freeman or Dare Ungwa.
I was hoping you were going to try to say it.
Not going to try. I cut myself off before I even got there. Doesn't matter who it is. Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, Jerry Sneed, Justin, punch at the ball. Punch at the ball. Try and create turnovers. They are there for the taking against this squad.
Risk the tackles. This team should definitely risk tackling.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I think they already do risk the tackle.
So might as well. So quit trying to tackle and just peanut punch every time instead.
I think that's a little bit of it half the time. And sometimes I think they're trying to hold off or hold guys up for the second eye to come in and try to make a play on the football. I just think they might be bad at it.
It might be. Or the pass rush. Get the pass rush going. Get some strip sacks. Something. Figure out a way to create more of them, because you need to get that energy. You need to have that confidence that you can do that as a defense, because right now you don't.
Wouldn't this just be a great week also too to maybe try to mix some things up a little bit and try some different things with your young defense just to try to, hey, look, if you're up comfortably, why not? Why not try?
I feel it. Your logic is sound. It's really sound. I'm just shaking my head because
you guys are both like,
no,
don't. Yeah.
But here's the thing. Theoretically, I would say no. Just go play cover 2 and dare a bad football team to beat cover 2, so you show nothing. That would be my typical strategy playing a bad team, is just go play the most basic, defenses you can and show nothing. The problem is that's what the Chiefs play against good teams as well. So I don't really know how to answer this question.
This might just be a see what you got kind of opportunity is all I'm thinking. Yeah. Just see if you got anything. Just try to throw some stuff up there. Let these guys get a feel for it. Maybe this is the week you could potentially do it. Matthew, you have the mystery box storyline of the week. Neither Craig nor I know about what you're about to propose here, so let's hear it.
So we're done talking about it. It's the Texans. Is there really anything else to talk about? I think we have covered everything their offense has to offer. We can just skip it, right?
Sure, I guess.
No, okay. Realistically, I don't have another point, because really this team is they have so many injuries. No, they have so many injuries. You don't know what you're about to see, right? We can sit here and talk about what do you do when you're facing a team that has all these injuries. You don't know what to expect. How do you defend it? Here's what I'm going to ask instead. A question to you two. Blank player for the Texans has a career game, and that is how they beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Jordan Akins, baby. Finally breaking out. Finally, listen, people might remember Jordan Akins. They used to do that 12 personnel where they'd stack him there, and that beat the hell out of Spagnuolo the last time these teams faced. They struggled to cover him. So Jordan Akins, tight end, comes in, has a great game.
Jordan Akins is 30 years old.
Guess what?
No, it's real. It's real this time. He's actually 30 years old now.
You've just been calling him 30 since he was drafted.
Because he was basically 30 when he was drafted. The correct answer is Davis Mills. I think Davis Mills is actually their best quarterback, and if he gets hot, they just abandon the Jeff Driscoll experiment and he torches the Chiefs. So yeah, if he has a career day, I think a lot of good things are happening, especially with that receiving core. And Jordan Akins. The ghost of Jordan Akins.
So even if Davis Mills is to have a career day, he's got to throw the ball to somebody, right?
Right.
So is Nico Collins gonna?
No, he's not gonna play.
That's the point, Maddie.
That's
the point. If he has a career day, that's how
tough.
they win.
This is tough.
Okay. Players to watch. Craig.
I'm going with Frank Clark. The last time that Frank Clark played against a top-tier left tackle, he had a really good game against Trent Williams. Now, some other guys did too. I don't know if that was just a bad week for Trent or what the case may be there, but he's going up against another really good one in Laramie Tunsil. And Tunsil has been good this year. He's just one of those guys that continually flies under the radar because he plays for a terrible offense, but he's been really good. Frank Clark right now is second on the team in pressure rate and in QB hits. He is just a small handful behind Chris Jones. Chris Jones has 11 sacks. Frank Clark has 4. So there's where there's a discrepancy there where those pressures aren't turning into sacks. And the last time they played against an elite left tackle, he had a safety. He had a really good game. Let's see what happens, because we're going to see Davis Mills. We're going to see it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. We're going to see him stand back there in the pocket and trust that the left tackle is going to do a good job because he is an elite left tackle. If Frank can line up another one, have another good game against an elite tackle, all of a sudden maybe we start seeing him pick up some sacks towards the end of the year here.
Well, this kind of steals my thunder because my player to watch is, in fact, Laramie Tunsil, a future left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs after they trade for him this offseason because his cap hit for the Texans is going to be $35 million next. Yeah, see? Corey knows. $35 million next year on the books for Laramie Tunsil. He is not going to be a Texan unless they extend him. Some team's going to trade for him unless they've reached that extension. Might as well be the Chiefs because they need a left tackle. In all seriousness, Justin Reed, revenge game versus a team that he seemed like he was kind of fed up with when he was out the door, whether it was his usage, whether it was some of the reporters or media in the space that he seemed to get into it with a little bit. Just a little bit of a revenge game for Justin Reed. Maybe he can have a good game here and kind of move on from the Bengals trash talk game a little bit.
We've seen a player.
That's how you answer.
We've seen a player kind of have a steady incline in their snap count throughout the season. In fact, this player has had three of his highest snap count percentages in the last 4 games. It's Colin Saunders. I am going with Colin Saunders just so for the first time in the history of the KC Laboratory, the same player can be the player to watch on both offense and defense. Look, I mean, and he's playing well. He's played better throughout the season. The contract year is undefeated for Colin Saunders. Like, he's having an outstanding career or outstanding season, 2.5 sacks on the season. He's playing a lot more football, and he's played well, I think, for big chunks of the season. Now, I mean, there's some games he wants back, but this is a guy with some athleticism, some ability to penetrate. Maybe this is an opportunity for him to get another statistic under his belt to help sell himself to a team next year in free agency. So Colin Saunders is my player to watch. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching this, please, and thank you. It helps us grow this channel. It is time for prediction time. It's prediction time, Craig.
I'm so glad that it's time for prediction time, Kent.
Yeah, thanks.
Did you guys know that the Houston Texans have not scored more than 24 points this season at all? That's how bad the offense is.
Are they Broncos-ing? Because, the Broncos scored 28.
As bad as I want to pick the Houston Texans to score 34 points against this defense, I cannot. I just can't. They are so hurt. All of their impact weapons on offense are just hurt. They are hurt. They're either limited or they're going to be out. And
looks at the Broncos roster from last week.
Frankly, with 2 quarterbacks out there, you just can't trust anybody to do anything. There is not a player of Jerry Jeudy's quality that will be healthy for this game for the Houston Texans. And they're going to have to score because they don't have the Broncos defense on the other side of the ball. They have a defense that has a propensity for giving up big plays, has a propensity for giving up big plays to tight ends. And the Chiefs have a pretty damn good one of those. I expect a big game. I expect that we will see Chad Henne. I don't think that the Chiefs are even going to necessarily have to play that well for this to become a bigger game. I'm going Chiefs 31, Texans 10 in this game.
You were explaining why the Texans weren't going to score a lot, and I literally just checking boxes. That was the Broncos. That was the Broncos. That was the Broncos. And the only difference is it's Jerry Jeudy versus Laramie Tunsil is like the one good player on the other teams. Like, they still have an all-pro player.
Is Laramie Tunsil routing up Joshua Williams, though?
Do you want me to answer this?
He's not. He's not.
Put Laramie over the ball, see what happens.
At least not 3 times he's not. How about that?
Okay, so I mean, I'm nervous. Like this very much aligns a lot like the Broncos game. It's a bad offense to begin with, and they have a ton of injuries. The offensive line, sans one guy, is not particularly good. The quarterbacks have not played good this year. They are down a couple weapons in the receiving room. They don't really have their full array of weapons, and it's not like they were playing that great when they did. The running back room also banged up, missing the heart and soul of their offense. Again, you don't know if I'm talking about the Broncos or the Texans right now. Here's the thing. The Chiefs went up 27-0 on that Denver Broncos team. I'm sitting here saying the same. The Chiefs went up 27-0 on them. I expect a similar offensive performance, especially because the Texans defense isn't as good as the Broncos. I think the Chiefs will have a little bit of something to prove because they didn't play a clean game last week. They'll be focused. They'll be ready this week. So I think you're going to get that same kind of offensive performance. If that happens, no chance that they come out and turn the ball over 2 times in the 3 minutes of the first half and then come out and like allow touchdowns and all of those. They jump out early on them. I expect they just kind of coast and ride it out. I don't think they lose the focus this week. So I'm going to go 33-16. Texans get a little bit of garbage time points, but I mean, a big win for the Chiefs, just like the Broncos game looked to start.
I'm not even sure the Broncos could capitalize the same way the Texans can capitalize the same way the Broncos were able to, honestly. Even if those situations arose, like I think Russ caught lightning in a bottle differently than Davis Mills or whatever, or Jeff Driscoll, whatever quarterback's in that possession, right? I think it's going to be an ugly football game. I don't think the Chiefs are going to show much. I don't think it's ever going to be in question. You're never going to be nervous. But it's going to be an ugly football game. 28-17 Chiefs. I don't think it's even that close.
I don't like that. That gives me bad vibes. I just got done talking to DJ about that Packers Chiefs game from 2011 and how the Packers let them hang around. I don't like the fact that you're predicting that close game.
Well, I mean, two Kyle Orton's playing for the Texans. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's gonna be an ugly football game. And I don't really care. I just move on, get this game out of the way, and let's just move on to the next week. Keep stacking wins. Hopefully they'll figure stuff out and peak at the right time. That is going to do it for the KC Laboratory game preview. Thank y'all so much for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll catch you later.